Everything is about to change. The WWE Draft, live next Monday. Special start time 8/7 Central, only on USA.
With the company facing major injury issues to the top players with Michaels, Taker, Hunter, Mysterio, Booker and Kennedy all now out for the foreseeable future, in addition to Van Dam being officially written off last Sunday, the first ever three-brand draft was set to refresh and rearrange the rosters while looking to recreate the buzz around the product with a major angle to get the ball rolling into the summer, along with boosting up the show on the night with one of the biggest drawing concepts in wrestling television history in the draft lottery, with the last two in 2002 and 2004 both drawing the most watched broadcasts of the year by a wide margin, targeting one of the biggest viewerships of the year, with the company not only pulling out one of its most proven cards in the draft but going all out to further load up the show, with it being promoted all week as Vince McMahon Appreciation Night in a show-long angle set to feature major names commenting on McMahon in unscripted promos throughout the night. Looking to kick off the 3-hour special starting an hour earlier at 8 p.m. with as much of the full audience tuning in from the start by promoting a major champion versus champion match to open the broadcast, with Edge vs Cena placed already in the first quarter to set the stage for a loaded show for the rest of the night, seeing Cena vs Edge going 7 minutes in the opening match, followed by SmackDown getting the first draft pick, with Cali moving to the brand to open the show with 3.9 million viewers. A figure slightly below but comparable to the opening quarter audience in the 8 p.m. time slot for the last two 3-hour specials in October 2005 and 2006, which both opened at the 4 million viewers range. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura was the first one to comment on McMahon to start the hyped series of interviews built as uncut shoot promos from high-profile on-screen and legit rivals from McMahon's past, putting over McMahon's success as a promoter while setting the stage for the angle coming up as a potential suspect for the future storyline, saying that Vince is a dictator and all dictators eventually fall, with the show on the night also coming in response to growing pressure from the USA Network on the company to boost numbers back up to the January to April levels after the recent slide over the past 2 months, with the network in competition for the top primetime cable spot, setting up potentially more 3-hour specials in the future to give the network more highly rated hours of primetime programming, with Raw by a significant margin still the network's most watched show in total viewers and in the key demographics, with one of USA's suggestions reportedly being more outside celebrities' involvement in the product following the short-term boosted segments from the recent Cena vs Federline angle, and more importantly the massive success that drove the show to near 5-year high figures during the Trump vs McMahon feud, with Raw climbing strong throughout the first hour, picking up over 900,000 viewers between 8 to 9 p.m. to average 4.3 million viewers, the most watched 8 p.m. hour of Raw since the move back to the USA Network, slightly above the Homecoming special and season premiere reunion show last October, featuring more McMahon career highlights along with comments from Mick Foley, with Foley outside of the promo on Vince's legacy in the business, with him reading a list of people who were not interested in sending videos on the night, including Rock, Hogan, Bischoff and Ted Turner, announcing a surprise return to the ring in the WWE title match at the Vengeance pay-per-view headliner in 2 weeks, with every former champion on the Raw brand set to challenge for the title in a 5-way match. Chris Benoit vs Bobby Lashley open draws second hour being placed in the usual biggest viewership pickup spot of the night for a 3-hour special, when regular Raw viewers usually tuning in big numbers, seeing Lashley vs Benoit going 8 minutes in a match highlighted by intense mat exchanges playing off their wrestling background, ending up with Lashley going over to give ECW their second pick and the biggest overall on the night, with Benoit after the departure of Van Dam and with Lashley set to go in a different direction, drafted to the brand with plans for him to lead the show as the top name on Tuesday nights. with the Benoit vs Lashley match over the first regular time slot quarter gaining over 1 million viewers to enter the 4 rating range, starting with over 5.7 million viewers in the most watched opening quarter since the day after WrestleMania 23 on April 2nd, in a segment also seeing Donald Trump making his return to WWE television, cutting a promo on Vince to bring up him winning the WrestleMania hair match along with taking shots at Vince for promoting an appreciation night for himself, with one of the big talking points coming out of the night seeing a backstage story with Trump, who was either watching the show as it happened on the USA Network or heard about the news hours later, calling the WWE office to make sure Vince is alright, and the final angle was a scripted part of the show. The second Raw vs SmackDown Champions match of the night was next, with US title holder MVP against IC title holder Santino Marella going 5 minutes, with MVP going over to see Tori Wilson being drafted to the SmackDown brand, with Raw's loaded show continuing 90 minutes and with another example of the company pulling out all the stops on the night with what in another scenario could have been one of the biggest stories of the year, which instead was only advertised on the company website and the Raw preview over the past 2 days, with Bret Hart being the next one to cut a promo on McMahon in a major segment, with it being the first Bret involvement on WWE programming in almost a decade since Montreal in November '97. Potentially opening the door for a Bret return to the company to finally deliver Vince's targeted 10 years in the making Hart vs McMahon TV feud, after Bret rejected several offers from McMahon to return in different scenarios over the past 5 years, with his only involvement prior to tonight being his DVD project and Hall of Fame induction, with no connection to the actual TV product to indicate on him perhaps changing his stance for the future. With the Bret promo in a quarter also seeing comments from Bobby Heenan and a Snitsky vs Miz draft pick match, drawing an hour-high 4.1 rating with over 5.9 million viewers, maintaining the number in the next segment to close the hour, with Roddy Piper coming out for his Vince comments in front of the crowd before introducing another McMahon highlight video. Perhaps the biggest draft pick of the night opened the third hour with Bobby Lashley, after being arguably one of the 2 most pushed performers in the company over the past 3 months, with a major exposure from his involvement in the Battle of the Billionaires, followed by a high-profile McMahon's feud, along with him in recent weeks starting to show strong signs on potentially turning into a legit TV draw with strong boosts for his quarters, taking the next step to be elevated into one of the top names in the company, with McMahon moving him to the Raw brand to already hint at a clash of the top 2 current babyfaces in Lashley and Cena, vacating the ECW title on the way out, with Lashley in another indication on the future plans for him being placed in the crossover segments of 2 hours on the night, with his match against Benoit at 9 p.m. followed by his segment with Coach at 10. Kicking off the hour outside of the Lashley announcement with Batista vs Jeff Hardy vs Elijah Burke in a 3-brand 3-way match, with the show continuing the gradual climb to pick up to over 6.2 million viewers and stay at that range for the rest of the night, seeing SmackDown after taking a hit so far, with Raw currently clearly the top priority, getting its highest profile draft pick of the night, with Ric Flair moving to the brand for the first time since the brand extension idea came up in 2002. Dusty Rhodes, who is currently one of the top writers booking the ECW brand, was out next for his McMahon promo, taking a different direction with his comments by putting over Vince's vision that made the industry what it is today, saying that like it or not you have to respect McMahon, with the final match of the night seeing a 15-man battle royal for the final 2 draft picks with 5 members from each brand, seeing the third hour set to be headlined by the McMahon segment picking up a big to average massive viewership of over 6.3 million viewers, equaling the second hour on March 12, built around the Battle of the Billionaires contract signing as the joint most-watched hour of Raw in over 5 years since the 10 p.m. hour of the first-ever WWE broadcast on May 6, 2002, delivering the massive increase targeted by the all-out broadcast on the night with the challenge of maintaining the interest of additional viewers tuning in specifically either for the draft concept or the McMahon angle, with the Battle Royal seeing Randy Orton going over to give Raw the 2 final picks to end strong, with another major addition of Kennedy jumping to Raw, making the company's intention clear of loading up the Raw brand with 3 top picks of Booker, Lashley and Kennedy to potentially offset the impact from the high-profile injury crisis, with the latest blow of losing Michaels for months along with Edge moving to SmackDown to counter the Taker injury. Steve Austin was the last name to speak, with his promo which featured him going off on McMahon to bring up their history over the past decade, with some of the most iconic moments from the Austin-McMahon rivalry, placed in the final quarter at 10:54 p.m. followed by Vince McMahon after 3 hours of hype finally walking out 3 minutes to the top of the hour, with him entering and leaving the ring without saying a word to set up the big angle of the night, ending the loaded broadcast with an all-time memorable explosion, with hopes in the company of it being the catalyst to boom back interest in the product to pre-WrestleMania levels that saw Raw drawing some of the most watched shows in years, getting a good sign for the turnaround on the night, with the proven drawing concept of the draft delivering again to see Raw spiking back to near 5-year high territory, with the show outside of the expected below-average first hour which dragged down the overall number, drawing a 4.2 rating with 6 million viewers in the regular 9 to 11:05 p.m. time slot, in the second most watched Raw broadcast in over 5 years, only behind the February 26th show earlier in the year, coming off the massive wave of publicity following the announcement on the Battle of the Billionaires, with the Vince limousine explosion segment in one of the most talked about angles in show history, peaking the night with 6.5 million viewers to kick off the big storyline of the summer, with hopes that the massive audience watching on the night will carry over to strong increases in business over the next several months.